Okay, so let's just imagine for a second. Your world goes completely sideways right now.
Yeah.
Whether you're, I don't know, lost deep in the woods or you're stuck in some huge urban crisis, like the absolute first thing you should do, what your top priorities are.
That's the question, isn't it?
And that's really the big question we're getting into today. We're doing a deep dive into, well, the blueprint for being prepared. We're pulling out the most crucial stuff from the SAS Survival Handbook, 3rd edition.
One by John Lofty Wiseman.
Exactly. And this isn't just, talking theory. This is a shortcut to getting that military-grade survival mindset. How to think, how to prioritize, basically how to stay resilient no matter where you are.
And that whole military-grade thing it's everything. You have to remember, Wiseman was career SAS, British Special Air Service.
So this isn't from a textbook?
No, not at all. This is all hard-won experience from the field, which gives the book, massive credibility. And this edition, the 3rd one, is just, it's huge. The scope is incredible.
Yeah, I was looking at the table of contents. It's a lot.
It's everything. I mean, you've got the real basics like reading the weather or how to make a tiny little pocket survival kit. But then it goes all the way into dedicated sections on campcraft, first aid, and then really specific advice for extreme places, desert, jungle, polar regions.
Z even. It's almost intimidatingly vast, which is exactly why we're here, to kind of distill it down for you, to find the core framework that holds all that detail together.
Right. And I think the most important thing, especially for those first few chaotic minutes of any crisis, is structure.
Structure.
Yeah. Because when panic hits and your brain is just flooded with adrenaline, you need a pre-programmed roadmap. You just can't afford to waste time or energy debating what to do next.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
Yeah.
Because Wiseman gives a really efficient way to structure your actions. It's a 4-letter acronym.
That's it.
And honestly, if you remember nothing else from this deep dive, remember this.
It's the PLAN system.
Yeah.
PLAN. And it is a non-negotiable priority list. Absolutely. It's designed to maximize your chances in those first critical, say, 72 hours. If you start deviating from this sequence, you run a very, very real risk of burning vital energy on the wrong thing.
But on things that won't kill you right away while you're ignoring the things that will.
Exactly that.
So let's break it down. P, that's for protection.
Protection.
Which sounds obvious, but what does that actually include?
It's the absolute starting point. It's only about the immediate threats from your environment. So, think shelter, proper clothing, and fire.
Okay.
You have to remember the environment, hyperthermia that can kill you way faster than hunger or even thirst.
Right.
So if you're caught in a storm, the very first life-saving move is building some kind of hasty shelter or just getting a small fire, gonna keep your core temperature up.
So you're dealing with the elements before you even think about finding a drink. I get why P is first, but here's a question. A lot of people think water is the next absolute priority. But Wiseman puts L for location before A for acquisition, which is where water comes in. Why?
That is a brilliant question. And it gets right to the military logic behind the whole system.
Okay.
L is location. Once you've stabilized your immediate situation, you're sheltered, you're warm, your priority has to shift to being found.
Okay, I see.
Because most people who get rescued are found within that first 72-hour window. If you immediately go wandering off looking for a stream, you've just sacrificed your best chance for rescue.
You've left the area where they'll be looking for you.
You have. So you focus on signaling, building visible markers, and making that crucial decision. Do I stay put, or do I move to a better spot to be seen?
That totally reframes it. The mission isn't just about long-term survival. It's about surviving until you're rescued.
Exactly. So now that you're protected and you're visible,
then I can worry about getting a drink.
Precisely. That's A, acquisition. Now you get the essentials that, your body can live without for a bit, but not forever. Water is number one here, finding it, purifying it, then food.
People get that backwards all the time.
All the time. They focus on catching a fish when they should be trying to stay warm or getting a signal fire ready. You can last 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water.
But only 3 hours without shelter in bad conditions.
That's the rule of threes. It's a perfect summary.
And then the last letter, N.
N is for navigation. Or you could say continuing those rescue efforts. This is the stage where if rescue hasn't happened yet and you've got your water sorted, you start thinking about the longer term.
route finding, maybe moving to a new area.
Exactly. Or setting up more persistent signals, like smoke signals during the day, ground-to-air markers. But the real genius of PLAN is it's psychological.
How so?
It gives your panic brain a checklist. It fights that neurological freeze by just giving you 4 clear tasks in order. It cuts through the chaos.
That structure is vital. But this is where the book got really, really interesting for me.
The urban stuff.
Yeah, the third edition really acknowledged that survival today isn't just about being lost in the woods. Reviewers all pointed out this huge new focus on, well, modern life. This book is for when the infrastructure fails, not just when the weather turns bad.
Absolutely. The survival landscape has changed. It's about the collapse of convenience, and the handbook adapted to that perfectly. Wiseman added a huge section on disaster survival.
So not just earthquakes and floods.
No, I mean, it covers those, but it also gets deep into the really relevant man-made crises.
Which is where that new urban focus really shines. What does he mean by service breakdown? That term stood out.
Service breakdown is the modern city's Achilles heel. It's the sudden loss of everything we take for granted. The power grid, water treatment, sanitation, communication.
Sounds like gone.
And the advice is so practical. How to store water safely, how to purify the water that's already in your house, in the pipes or the water heater, how to deal with no heat or AC, and crucially, how to handle sanitation when the system is down so you don't get a disease outbreak.
So your biggest immediate threat might not be exposure, but maybe civil unrest or a sickness spreading.
Precisely. And that's why we have to shift gears and talk about the non-physical side of this, the mental and psychological resilience.
Right.
Wiseman is so clear about this. Survival, he says, fails or succeeds in the mind. It doesn't matter how good your gear is. If you fall apart under stress, the best knife in the world is useless.
It's a thing we always forget to practice, isn't it? We practice the bow drill fire, but we don't train our minds.
And it has to be treated as a core skill, just as important as setting a broken bone. The book actually goes into how to manage that crushing fear, the anxiety, the fatigue, the lack of sleep.
You have to learn to push through it.
You have to compartmentalize the terror and just function. And in the city, that can be even harder because the threats are often human. The book gets into dealing with violence, even things like espionage or navigating surveillance.
That's a whole other level of psychological strain. And you mentioned something earlier, a key lesson that stood out. The idea of daily habits of mind.
Yes. This might be the most actionable part for everyday life. It's all about cultivating situational awareness.
So not just for a crisis.
No, for right now. It's simple things. Checking your seatbelt. Maintaining a 360-degree awareness of who's around you at the ATM or on the subway. Securing your property. Planning an escape route when you're in a new building.
It's about avoiding the crisis in the first place by just not being distracted.
Exactly. It's the difference between walking down the street staring at your phone versus being aware of the people around you. It's about having a ready mindset. That's your best defense.
Okay, this all explains why the book is so highly regarded. I mean, you've got authoritative experience, it's comprehensive, the diagrams are super clear.
And for the amount of information you get, it's a great value.
It is. But for a proper deep dive, we have to look at it critically. If you're going to rely on this book, what are its limitations? Where does it fall short?
There are a few, and they're really important. The first one is just its broadness.
A weakness of its strength.
Exactly, because it tries to cover every environment, desert, polar, urban, jungle. Some of the advice has to be, by necessity, a bit generalized.
So it's a fantastic starting point for a generalist, but maybe not the last word for a specialist.
That's the perfect way to put it. If you are specifically training for, say, Arctic bushcraft, you need to supplement this with a more focused text. It's not that the advice is bad, just that it can't be exhaustive for every single situation.
And there's another really crucial critique, especially about regional differences. This one is a big safety issue.
Huge. And it's specifically about identifying edible plants.
Right.
Because Wiseman is a British expert, some of the plants he lists as safe, well, they might not even exist in North America or Australia. And worse, they might have local poisonous lookalikes.
That is a life or death caveat.
It is. You cannot trust a foreign guide for local foraging unless you have it confirmed with local knowledge. Your life is on the line.
Okay, so that's a big warning label. But on the other side of that, an area where the book really excels is on the most basic gear, the pocket survival kit.
Oh yeah, reviewers love that part. It's not about having some massive bug-out bag. It's about a kit you can fit in your hand.
And he breaks it down to the absolute essentials.
He does. 3 key components. You need ignition, so a fire starter. You need shelter, even just a strong plastic bag or a thermal blanket. And you need navigation, a small compass, or even just a needle you can magnetize.
Which covers the P and the L and PLAN.
That's the minimum you need to address protection and location.
And that idea of minimal gear ties right into another core concept, which is improvised tools, making something from nothing.
The ultimate skill, adaptability. The Campcraft section shows you how to make a working compass from a magnetized needle and a leaf in some water.
I've always wanted to try that.
Or how to build a raft from just what's around you. It's about training your brain to see resources, not just what you packed in your bag.
And all of this, it brings us to the ultimate inescapable truth of any kind of survival training, which you see everywhere. Knowledge isn't enough.
It is the gap between knowing and doing. You can read Wiseman's book cover to cover, you can memorize everything, but as one expert put it, learning survival skills isn't from reading books. You must get into the outdoors and practice them.
It's the difference between knowing the theory of how to swim and actually getting thrown into the deep end when you're tired and panicking.
Absolutely. Under that kind of stress, your fine motor skills just disappear. Your memory doesn't work right. So skills like first aid, tying knots, navigation, and especially starting a fire, they have to be practiced until they are pure instinct, muscle memory.
You want that automatic response to kick in.
Because when it really counts, you do not want to be trying to remember a diagram in a book. That practice is what turns a crisis into just a manageable emergency.
And finally, let's connect that practice back to rescue. It's not just about surviving, it's about being found.
Yes. This closes the loop. It reinforces the L and the N in PLAN, signaling for rescue smartly. You have to practice using a signal mirror. That flash can be seen for miles.
And the ground-to-air signals.
Know them. The V for require assistance, the X for need medical aid. All the work you do to survive is validated by that one final skill, making yourself visible so someone can actually get to you.
So when we boil it all down, what does it all mean? If you take just two things away from this deep dive, it should be this.
Okay.
First, survival demands that actionable structure of PLAN. You have to prioritize protection and location above all else at the start. And second, that mental resilience, being prepared for any environment, the woods or your own street after a disaster, is just as vital as any piece of gear you can own.
And building on that idea of preparation and the book's focus on daily habits, it raises a really practical question for you, for the listener.
Go on.
We know survival hinges on muscle memory, on practice. So what is one simple, repeatable survival technique you could start doing today?
Something low effort.
Really low effort, like always checking for the emergency exits when you walk into a building, or practicing one basic useful knot, or even just deliberately thinking of 2 different escape routes for your daily commute.
Something you can integrate right now.
Right now. It's about time we stop thinking of survival as some dramatic thing that happens to other people and start seeing it as a daily practice of awareness and just being prepared.